Hi, I'm Shantae Jackson, and I am so excited that you are here for today's resource conversation. These conversations are meant to help motor vehicle incident survivors and their families with tools, tips, and resources. I am really excited for today. We've got Tricia from Rooted Journey talking all about breath work. Tricia, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
I love it. So tell us a little bit about you and how you got into this work and how it all began.
I'm a breathwork facilitator. And so what does that even mean? I specifically work with people on regulating their nervous system using their breath and also helping with emotional release and kind of getting rid of those stuck emotions or traumas in the body, also through breath work. And then I host international retreats where I kind of combine the breath work with nature and cultural experiences.
Wow, that's amazing. Um, Now, can you tell us a little bit about explaining what breath work is? I don't know that it's as commonly known what breath work even means.
Yes, great question. um, It is a pretty big blanket term. So, a lot of people, when they think of breath work, they think of what they know from yoga, um, which is a lot of nervous system regulating breath work and connecting breath with the movement. So, there's kind of like the umbrella under the yoga side, which is called pranayama. And that is a little more, usually a little more gentle, more regulating. There are some that are more invigorating types of breath. And then there's this other umbrella called holotropic breath work, which is talking more about the emotional release that I mentioned. And some people know Wim Hof. I don't know if you've ever heard of him, but he's kind of like the one who made this type of breath work more like pop culture, like just more known. Um, and so yeah, there's like those two branches, and then within those umbrellas, there's a ton of different types. And essentially, breath work is just manipulating the breath, different having different rhythms of the breath that induce different physical and emotional sensations.
Mm, I love that. So, how is breath work, or how would, or how is breath work especially helpful for people that have experienced a trauma or high stress, times or moments? How is it helpful, or what does it do?
So often, and you probably know this, when we have any sort of trauma, whether it's physical, mental, emotional, it gets stuck in our bodies, like in our fascia, our connective tissue. It actually gets like stuck in there. And so when it gets triggered, you have these physical sensations. Your heart races, your mind starts racing. You get sweaty, anxious, sad, angry. Um, so there's just kind of like a gambit of things that are going on in the body. And if it's just like societal stress,
Yeah.
which is kind of like just maybe it's not like these spikes, but it's just this like feeling overall of like my baseline is just like at a stressful level. Um, those signals in our body and our mind are going off. Um, and I forget your original question
Just how
behind
does
this.
no, it was so good. Just how does breath work help with that? Like
Right,
why
right.
is it helpful for those times?
Yes, okay. So when we use a breath, like for instance, a lot of people are familiar with box breathing, where you inhale for 4 seconds, hold for four, exhale for four, and then hold for four again. So that's nervous system regulating. So when our body is going through these spikes or just kind of this general stress, we can use the breath and it will calm these systems in our bodies so that we can, like, our body can regulate. It turns on the rest and digest part of the nervous system as opposed to the fight or flight, which is what you're trying to get out of.
Okay, great. So, what I'm hearing is that if your nervous system is triggered for some reason, so whether it's like an acute stress or a trauma that has happened in the past, but you're triggered, your nervous system is triggered back to that sense of danger or trauma that you've experienced. Or even, there's something going around in your community or in your culture where, maybe it's a larger mass type of a stress or stressor, maybe like COVID, something like that, where it's affecting you. Your nervous system is getting amped up. So it's going into fight or flight. And when you're doing breath work, when you're being intentional about breathing, is that an okay way to describe that? Okay. So
Yeah.
when you're being intentional about breathing, that you're turning off that response of I need to flee or fight this safety concern. A lot of people use the term, like a bear's attacking me, right? So what I'm hearing is it's turning that off and then turning on your rest and digest. Can you tell us a little bit more what that means? Your rest and digest versus fight or flight?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the rest and digest part of the nervous system is like where when you feel safe and when you feel relaxed and all the systems in your body are working how they're supposed to be working because they feel safe and they're not being attacked by a bear, essentially. They're just hanging out and enjoying life.
I love that. Okay, so let's assume that I'm brand new to this. You mentioned box breathing. Whether it's box breathing or something else, can you tell me a breathwork technique that maybe is like, a base level, like, okay, I want to learn how to control this in a sense that I can feel my nervous system getting amped up and I want to use breath work to get back into that state of calm. What's a technique that's a kind of a good beginning point?
Yeah, I try and keep it very simple. So I will usually tell people to just count their breath and then elongate their exhales. So that could be inhaling in through the nose for 4 seconds and then exhaling out the mouth for 6 or 8 seconds, or you like the seconds of your choosing if you want to inhale for 2 and exhale for 4, just focusing on the counting, which gives your mind something to focus on, and then elongating that exhale is the part that's turning on that rest and digest part of the nervous system. It's saying I'm safe, I can be calm.
I love that. So I didn't recognize that that's what the longer exhale was doing. But I know for me, my therapist told me once, we were working on a lot of different ways of how to cope with being triggered. And I said, there's some times that I'm triggered that it is not appropriate for me to have like a total meltdown. Of course, I don't want to turn that off all of the time. It's healthy to be able to process that too. But there are times, like I was working with young children at the time, and I would get triggered, and it's not appropriate for me to traumatize them because
Mhm.
I'm in the middle of a fight or flight. And he had talked to me about if you feel like you're about to cry or something like that, and it's just, not an appropriate time for you to do that. Make sure you do it later so it doesn't get stuck. But in that moment, to breathe out longer. And I didn't realize that that was why, was because it was telling my body I'm safe when I have a longer exhale. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly. And you can even feel it. Like if you are doing your breath and like you can take your pulse, like for instance, putting your fingers at your throat to feel your pulse, and then you can inhale and feel your pulse speed up a little bit. And then on the exhale, you can feel it slow down.
Wow. Because a lot of times people will say, take a big breath, right? Take a big breath. But what you're telling me is that big inhale hell is actually going to potentially fuel your autonomic system getting wired up, right?
Hmm.
That's
I
so
mean,
crazy.
yeah, I, it does. And then it also like, it's doing that for a reason. I'm not great with the science part of it, but it's all doing it for a reason, you know?
Yeah.
And when you said deep or when you said big breath, it actually also reminded me of focusing more on deep breaths than big breaths. And what I mean by that is inhaling into the diaphragm and into the belly region as opposed to the chest. So our diaphragm actually wraps around our whole trunk. So just focusing on, when you're for the example we gave, the inhaling in for 4, really like putting your hands on your trunk and feeling that expansion there. And then on the exhale for 8, you can feel it contract.
Oh, I
And then
love that.
that's also, it's giving your body a more efficient way to process the oxygen and just kind of work a little bit better for you.
Can we try it? I want to try. You just taught
Yeah.
so many things. So guide us through where we're breathing in for a count, and but then our exhale is longer, and that we're really focusing on not the chest, but that we're focusing on filling our trunk and our diaphragm.
Okay, great. Yes. Okay, so whoever's listening, watching, if you want, you can close your eyes to just kind of get into the body. And then I suggest either putting your hands kind of like just above the hips, or you can place them on your belly, whatever feels good. And then we're going to inhale for 4 in through our nose, and then we're going to exhale through our mouth for 8 as if we're blowing out through a straw. So we're kind of pursing our lips to elongate that exhale. Okay, ready? All right. So let's inhale for 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. In for 4, 3, 2, 1. Out for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. In for 4, 3, 2, 1. Out for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Feels so good,
How
right?
was
It
it?
feels so calming.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I have a question because this came up in my own mind, and maybe other people experience this. There's a little bit of a moment between the inhale and the exhale, and then the exhale and the inhale. And at the beginning, you said something about, do your count for whatever feels good. And that little gap, let's say somebody's a perfectionist, right? And they're like, wait, there was a gap and we weren't counting. Talk
Mm.
to us about that gap if there is. Some people may not have it, and if it matters and if it bothers them, right? Because I know that we're trying to really turn on feeling calm instead of going overthinking about what's happening in the gap. What do we do with that gap? Do we count? Do we just try to get into our exhale quicker? What's the most effective thing?
Great question. This is your practice, so you can do it however it feels right. There's no wrong way to do this. So naturally, what usually happens with our inhales and exhales is there is a pause at the top and the bottom. So after the inhale and after the exhale, there's usually, if you're breathing correctly, like normally, there is usually a natural pause. So if you're doing the more intentional breathing and you want that natural pause to be there or an intentional pause, you can do that. If you're listening, like I was just counting for you, you can also tune that person out. Feel free to tune me out and do your own counting. And then maybe that pause is in there for you.
Okay, great. Yeah, that's super helpful. The other thing that I noticed is that you counted backwards instead of forwards. That was really helpful for me, but I've never thought to do that. I've never thought, like, if I'm doing it on my own, let's say I'm doing box breathing, which you explained, I count one, two, three, four instead of four, three, two, one. But it was so helpful for me to hear you say we're counting for four, but then that was part of the count. Because at first I'm like, wait, is this five? But it's not, right? We're right at four. And again, I know that we shouldn't be overthinking, but I'm trying to help anybody that might do that as they're listening, go, wait, I want to make sure I'm doing this right. But what I'm
Mm-hmm.
hearing is it doesn't really matter what it is, whatever it is for you. That was such a good answer. And I really appreciated the counting backwards, but maybe some people like to count forward or not listen to you at all. And that's okay.
Yeah, exactly. And there's, I don't know, probably thousands of different breath techniques out there. So, and people often ask me, like, what's the best one to use? And I think the best one is whatever works for you. So, just trying different ones. Maybe it's different for different situations too. So, maybe even having like a little, like a menu almost of options that you can choose from when we're, especially when we're like in a triggered moment, it's hard to remember all the tools that we have in our toolkit. So I often have just like a list that I can just pull out and be like, okay, I'm having a panic attack. This is what I like to do for that. And then it's just right in front of me and I can go into it.
Oh, that's such a good idea. So tell us about another technique. The one that you just taught us, we were talking about very basic, you're kind of newer to it. I would love something that, yeah, maybe is like I'm, going into a panic attack, or I can feel, for me, it's going to be a PTSD trigger where I really, really go into that fight or flight and I'm feeling almost re-traumatized. What's something that's helpful when it's, I mean, you're really amped up, your nervous system is really going. What's one maybe that works for you that you've seen work for other people?
Um, Sometimes being intentional about the breath can be difficult in the moment in the I keep using the word triggered, but that's just, blanket term when things are feeling amped up. Sometimes I will just focus more on like my physical surroundings and like grounding down and just have the breath kind of doing its thing in the background. And ideally it's kind of calming as you're working on the more like body sensations. So I'll focus on like feeling my feet on the ground, feeling the clothes on my skin, feeling the my heart beating, feeling the um feeling just all the sensations in my body, and that can just be even more simple um when you're in the moment.
Yeah. Well, and I know for myself, like the thought of, like you mentioned, the thought of breathing is a little bit tricky when your nervous system is really, really, you know, fighting you. I don't know if that's what you call it, but it's what it feels like.
Hmm.
Um, and the idea of breathing can be hard. However, I love the idea of, what did you call it? Um, focusing on your physical surroundings and grounding down. That term grounding down, I assume, is meaning that you're really just physically present. You're focusing on, okay, what's right here and what can I feel?
Hmm.
And as you mentioned, it's something that happens for me as well. As I'm, trying to get back to the present, what can I feel right now? That's something that helps me so much is feeling. I literally will like rub my arm or rub my leg. If there's somebody with me, touching their skin is so helpful for me, as well as vice versa. If I see, one of my loved ones getting into this sense that, their nervous system, they're just not regulated, I can just I will do this especially with my husband when we're driving and his nervous system's getting amped up. I'll just rub his arm a little bit, and that skin really just brings you back to the present. And what I notice is that my breath really does start to calm down. It's like, okay. And then I can start to focus on my breathing and using, whatever techniques that I am ready to use in that moment. But being present is so helpful first. So thank you for that reminder of that. I would love to hear another breath work technique. So we've talked about, you've done a few, right? Box breathing and then exhaling longer, and then the benefits of being physically present and grounding down. Teach us another breath work technique, please.
Yes. Um, One that is more on the like emotional release side that I like to use, and it's gentle. Um, Normally the a lot of the emotional release breath work can be a little bit more intense, and it, with it, like we kind of start by almost dysregulating our nervous system, but then it regulates itself. And so, like, cool feelings can come up.
Yeah.
um, so, the breath that's kind of like a good intro that anyone can do is called a circular breath. So, it's inhaling, well, you can kind of do it however you want, inhaling through the nose, inhaling exhaling through the nose, or kind of any variation of inhale and exhale. But how I like to do it with people starting out is inhaling in through the nose and exhaling out the mouth. And what you'll do is you'll inhale and kind of bring your breath from your belly all the way up to your chest. So it's like this really big, deep inhale. And then you exhale almost with a sigh. So it's like easy and kind of falls out the mouth. So I'll show you what it looks like. And I usually like to put my hand on my stomach and my chest so I can feel it. So I'll inhale in through the nose and out. So real deep and then easy exhale. And doing that for up to 10 minutes can it can kind of allow the energies that are maybe stuck in the body to just kind of move around a little and possibly get processed. So some emotions can come up. You can feel like crying or yelling or even laughing, and it could be joyous kind of feelings. Um, so that is one that can be better, not in like a triggered moment, but in like I just have some things that I might want to get more in touch with in my body or in my emotions. So focusing on that type of breath can be really powerful.
That's amazing. So, what I'm hearing is that it's almost a release, right? Like
Hmm.
whether it's laughter or tears, but that it's allowing your body to release whatever it is that's maybe stuck, that it's releasing that instead of calming it, it's allowing it to literally, like exhale out.
Hmm.
That's amazing. This
Yeah.
is so super helpful. I wish we could talk forever. Time goes too fast.
Yes.
Is there anything that we didn't talk about that you would like to share or that you would like to leave, survivors and their families with?
I would say I've already touched on it, but find something that works for you and keep it simple. When we're just going through anything, the simpler it can be, the more likely it is that you'll use it. Um, so find what works for you, find what feels good for your body. And like I said, it could be different for different situations. So just keeping that in mind and giving yourself some extra love is always helpful. I think, we're humans, and especially people who have gone through traumatic things in their life that just sticks with you. It can be really heavy a lot. So giving yourself extra love and compassion, I think can also go a long way to helping your body feel more safe.
What a great message. And to add to that, that this is for anybody. This isn't for, younger, old, male or female. Like this is for a body. So if you've
Mhm.
got a body, this is helpful. And I've learned some breath work. I learned more today, and it really does make a difference if you have moments where you're maybe not loving, what you're feeling, or you're not understanding it. Breathwork is a really good way to help you kind of get back to the present as well as in tune with what your body's doing, and then to move through it, which is what we all want, is to be able to move through it and become, better versions from the things that we've been through. I'm so grateful. Thank you so much for being here. And we'll put all of Tricia's information in the show notes. So if you're wanting to go on her incredible retreats, I would love to do that. If you want to go on one of her retreats, or your company is looking for somebody to help them out with some of these things, she would be a really great addition to your upcoming trainings. You can find that information there. And with that, we hope that this made your road a little bit better.